Welcome to the Elite Real Estate Agents of SEQ podcast, where I sit down with some of the most successful and respected real estate agents working right here in one of Australia's most beautiful and sought-after regions, Southeast Queensland. This podcast gives you a genuine, behind-the-scenes look at who these agents are as people, what makes them stand out in the industry, and most importantly, can help you decide if they're the right fit to guide your property journey. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the conversation. You might just be listening to the perfect person to sell your property. Hello and welcome back to another episode of Elite Real Estate Agents of SEQ podcast. Now today's guest is a powerhouse in the Sunshine Coast hinterland and someone who's quietly become one of Palmwoods' most trusted real estate agents. Meet Leigh Martinuzzi, Director of Martinuzzi Property Group in partnership with EXP Australia. Now, since relaunching his real estate career in 2019, Leigh has become the number one agent in Palmwoods for 5 straight years, and that's as rated by RateMyAgent. He's consistently ranked among the top 5 recommended agents on the Sunshine Coast and has cemented his reputation as a high achiever with multiple EXP Australia Icon Agent Awards. But look, what really sets Leigh apart is his commitment to making what is often seen as a stressful experience into something that's exciting, rewarding, and above all, stress-free. His straight-talking, client-first approach combined with his marketing savvy and negotiation skills has built a loyal base of referrals, repeat clients, and long-term relationships. Now, beyond sales, Leigh is also an author and a podcast host himself, passionate about sharing expertise, storytelling, and helping others succeed. Leigh, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me. What an introduction.
Well, there you go.
Couldn't have written it better myself.
This is why it's called the Elite Real Estate Agents of SEQ podcast, because we only get the elite on, mate. So, look, first question. In that intro, it said it's your you've come back to real estate.
Yes.
This is your second crack at it?
Yeah.
Okay, tell me a bit about this.
There is a bit of a story behind that.
Yeah, well, I'd love to hear it.
So I started real estate in the Gold Coast back in 2012.
Okay.
I came from a retail executive background and I thought I had enough of it. I guess you got capped earnings with retail, right?
Sure.
And I wanted something different. I was always going to be my own boss, I think, is fundamentally where it led me to real estate. So I saw real estate. I thought I can work hard in this, and the harder I work, the better I do at it, the more I can earn. And that's what I did. So for 3 years, I did that, but I became a real estate wanker in that 3 years.
There's a few of those around.
Well, that's what I became, right? And I get it, because what I did was go, okay, well, what does a real estate agent look like? What do they do? And so I started to mock what I saw in the industry. I was still myself, but I was, wearing a suit and tie, and I was dressed uncomfortably, really.
Yep.
It didn't feel right. I had a compendium back then, the folder.
Sure.
So I'd go in and sit down and bore clients with documents and charts. And I did well, to be honest, because I worked hard.
Did you start with an agency?
I did, yeah. So I started with, I went through a few different agencies back then.
Yep.
I remember I was doing some deliveries of flyers. I was on a scooter, I had my helmet on, I pulled over, and I used to spend about 4 or 5 hours every, I think it was a Wednesday, delivering flyers. And about halfway through, I pulled over to the side of the road, took off my helmet, and I said, what the hell am I doing? What does all this mean? So I had the passion for real estate, but there wasn't something really connecting. So I decided to pack it up. I told my wife at the time, I said, let's go to Japan, because I used to live in Japan.
Right. So
we packed up everything, sold the house, sold the cars, 3 suitcases, 2 kids under 3, and my wife, and we lived in Japan for 2 years.
Okay.
So that was the gap. That was the reason for the gap. And then I came back and I dabbled in a few startup companies on the Sunshine Coast this time. And because I was a little bit jaded by the industry. The industry's got a bad reputation, right? Externally, but also within. There's a lot of competition and nastiness that goes on.
Right.
And I didn't want to be a part of that.
Sure.
But I said, no, I've made a decision because I knew I was good at it. And I did love doing what I did, because it's a nice feeling when you get a result for a client and they're happy about it. So I said, okay, screw it. I'm going to come back in, but I'm going to do it my way. And that's what I did. So 2019, I actually worked for a boutique agency on the Sunshine Coast. And then within 2 years, again, got some really good traction, decided to do my own thing. And that was a hard move. It is for a lot of people to back yourself enough to say, I'm going to do my own thing. But I found this company called EXP which is a global company of independent agents, now close to 90,000 strong in something like 30 countries across the globe. Beautiful company to work for. Lets me do my thing how I want to do it, but gives me all the resources and support I need to do my job.
You need to be able to do it.
Yeah. So I did that probably 2 years in after being on the sunny coast, and hey, here I am. Love my job. This is what you get when you get me out there. You very much get me.
Yep. Fantastic. It seems to have become quite a popular model, that where you're not under the structure of a big banner agency, and you can still be yourself but still have the support systems that you need.
Yeah. So some of the agencies I worked for, again, they all dangle carrots. Hey, we're going to give you training, this and that and the other. Often they don't. And I've worked for a number of different agencies. There was probably maybe two of them that had some good elements, like good training or something like that, but generally not the support. And when you're the person behind the brand, I guess, you're the one that the client's bringing out. You're the one that they want to work with, but then you're giving up, at the time it was like 50%, 40% of your commission to the agencies, and you go, okay, what for? A desk, a phone? Some only gave you like 200 copies of coloured printed paper a month. Like ridiculous, things like that.
They're not giving you listings, are they? You're still having to get them yourself.
No, well, you don't. Gone are the days where people used to walk into a real estate office. It's up to you to go out there and find clients. And that's when I saw EXP. I thought, well, this is a game changer. I can earn 100% of everything for a very small fee. It's the cheapest business you can start, really.
Yep.
Plus, it's a global community, so we've got a network where we actually work together, collaborate, because we're not in competition. No. Like a lot of the franchise mobs, they're fighting against each other and they're just across the road.
Well, they've probably got the agents inside the agency fighting over.
Absolutely. Yeah. And there is that sort of competition within the agency as well. So I really love the model, and that's been a game changer for me, because it gave me a level of freedom to run my business how I wanted to, but also allow me to connect with some masterminds in real estate across the globe. Like my upline in my team is Ricky Carruth, who's a massive player in the industry. He's a coach. Got a podcast as well.
Yep.
And does phenomenally well, So to be able to be connected with that sort of environment, I think is fundamental for my growth as well, which then benefits my clients.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Talk to me about pre-real estate. Before you said retail, but where'd you grow up? Tell me a little bit about your background.
Background. So I'm a Cairns boy.
Cairns boy.
Grew up in far north Queensland.
Okay, most people down here have come north, but you've come south.
I came south. Yeah, Cairns is beautiful. I grew up camping, fishing, and all the fun stuff. My dad owned a restaurant called the Steakhouse and Pancake House. So I spent most of my life in his restaurant.
Yep.
Eating steak. And then my mum was busy. I've got 3 older brothers, so 4 kids that she raised. And she's a seamstress, so she also ran a clothing shop that she ran. So I grew up with parents that very much were, I guess, entrepreneurial in style.
Sure.
Wanted to run their own business.
Businesses, yep.
Like I remember seeing my dad when he did actually leave the steakhouse and work for someone, he just couldn't do it. So I'm very much wired like that as well. So yeah, grew up in Cairns, typical childhood. I actually was a passionate foodie, still am.
Yep.
I did my chef course and started to do my chefing apprentice.
Yep.
Very quickly decided that I loved to do food, but not in this environment. So I gave that up and I went to university, dabbled in that. Still did cooking throughout that part of my life as well. So grew up with hospitality and then went overseas. And then I got lost in Japan for about 4 years.
Yeah, tell us about Japan. What were you doing over there? Like you said, with 2 young kids and...
Yeah, well, earlier on, I finished university and I had a couple of mates over there. They said, oh, it's great over here, come over. And I said, okay, well, I'll come over. I'll give it 6 months and do a bit of teaching because everyone goes there and teaches.
Yep.
So I thought I'd do that. And then not immediately, but eventually I landed in this really good job where I was pretty much my own boss. They said, here, we want you to teach these kids and adults. You have to create the course content, all that sort of stuff yourself. We'll pay you. We'll give you a house, give you a car. Boom. And it was great. It was a great job, great boss. They just let me do what I wanted to do. And I really enjoyed the teaching aspect of it. Mm-hmm. So I did that. I ended up staying there for 4 years. Wow. Japan's got I just fell in love with the country. I think It's got a great culture, great history. The people are great. The food's great. So it was hard to leave that. And I came back actually for a brother's wedding after doing about 6 months backpacking throughout Southeast Asia.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, I've heard great things about Japan. Haven't been myself, but
it's a must-do.
Would love to. So, all right. Well, before we delve further into your real estate career, what would you be doing if you weren't doing real estate?
That's a really good question, and I have heard you ask other guests this question. Look, I love food. You know,
You'd be a chef, wouldn't you?
I don't know if I'd be a chef. I listened to a
celebrity chef
podcast, yeah, maybe with Andy Cooks. He's got one of the largest YouTube channels, and he's a chef. And I was listening to his podcast the other day, and I thought, you know, that's probably something I would do. And I've thought about it. It's just setting it up and taking the time to do it.
Sure.
On top of my other things that I do. But I'd probably do something like that, you know, cooking shows or cooking classes, something that's giving value and educating, but something that's motivational as well. I run the podcast called the Hidden Why Podcast, and I've done that for a decade.
Well, that's what I was going to ask about next. Yeah.
So I really enjoy that side of things. For me, the growth was really fundamental in my life, and I think it's fundamental for everyone. And not everyone wants to tap into that. So I get that. But I'd love to go out there and inspire and encourage that level of growth in others as well, because I think it's what makes life a lot happier. And I believe the motivational force behind everything we do is to get to a deeper level of happiness.
Absolutely.
We just don't realise it. And we're basing all our values and things on external expectations and societal norms rather than sort of searching in here and going, this is where we have to approach life, right?
So is that what the Hidden Why is all about? Here's your chance. Tell us about your podcast. Give it a...
That's pretty much what it's about. So it started off, I shared a story just before. So it started off me listening to a podcast called The Kick-Ass Life with David Wood. And my brother was going through a bit of suicide sort of thoughts and momentum at that stage and started listening to this podcast for his own benefit. So I thought, okay, I'll listen to it just so I could resonate with what he's going through. And then I started to listen to this podcast and thought, this is game-changing. You know, I was one of those guys that would wake up in the morning. I was in retail at this time. Wake up in the morning and go, I don't really want to do this. And I'd burn my toast, running out the door, get to work and just have that sort of cycle.
Daily grind.
That's what it felt like. And I was really like, there's got to be freaking more to life than this daily grind. Yes, I'm ambitious and I want financial freedom and all that sort of thing, but I also want meaning in what I do. So that's why the podcast came about. And I remember I was sitting and driving up to the Sunshine Coast and you know, it was just a joyful idea at the time going, I'm going to start a podcast. And this is over a decade ago now. And I pressed record on my phone back then and I just was pretending I was interviewing someone.
Right.
And I was interviewing David Wood from the Kick-Ass Life. And then not long after that, David Wood was my episode number 1 on my podcast.
Was
and
he
I
really?
launched the Hidden Why podcast. Yep.
And I was just looking this morning before we came in here and 1,132 episodes.
That sounds about right.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, that is huge.
So earlier on, I did a lot more content as well. Now I take it seriously, but I wasn't investing everything in it. Because when I started out, like most people start things for another reason and then it ends up being a totally different reason why you continue to do it. So I started because I thought, I could make, you know, money out of this. I could do it as a career. But really it was selfishly for me to grow and learn. And then that started to happen. And now that's really what I want to give back to others because the transformations it's had in my life from waking up in the morning, watching the Channel 7 Sunrise show, Cash Cow and all the negative stuff there, to now waking up with exercise, motivation, meditation, different level of mindset helps me win the day differently as well.
Fantastic. Love it.
And I still have tough days like we all do.
Yep.
But generally, if I follow this morning routine and I continue to grow,
you're better equipped.
I'm better.
Yep.
Better off.
Absolutely.
100%.
So check it out, the Hidden Why podcast, available on all podcast platforms, I would imagine. Go and give it a listen. All right, so let's move now into your real estate career. So you're based on the sunny coast. Is the hinterland area sort of your specialty? Or do you cover the whole area?
Yeah, I go anywhere on the Sunshine Coast. I've probably been boxed in as the Palmwoods agent.
Okay.
And I did that myself, really.
Yep.
So I got to Palmwoods and I said, okay, well, this is where I'm living. My parents were there. That's where we moved to. I thought I wanted to create a lifestyle around me as well. So I didn't want to have to travel, a couple of hours to do a property sale. So I said, I'm just going to focus on Palmwoods initially and become the best agent there. So in the first year I became the number 1 agent in the area.
How do you think you did that? What do you think you did that enabled you to become number 1 so quickly?
Number 1, work ethic. I'm very active. I work a lot. Sometimes it's a problem being a workaholic.
Yep.
I'm balancing that out now, but certainly initially I was just a go-getter. Like I'd be out there walking the streets, delivering flyers, calling people, doing everything that most other agents were lazy to do, right? And so people started to notice that. On top of that, I've got a marketing background. I've got a bachelor degree at marketing and management. And so I did marketing very well.
Yep.
So my marketing was good. I was doing letterbox drops. I was calling a lot of people. And I started to really get involved in the community as well. And that's because it brings me joy. I got 2 young girls. They go to the local primary school. I got involved there on the PNC and started to run movie nights and things of that nature because I enjoy doing that as well.
Yep.
But people respect that, they see
being
you
involved in the community.
And it is like Palmwoods is a small knit community. Now with the expansion on the cards, we are looking to expand further across the coast and offering our point of difference, I guess, to more people, because I think the industry generally, there's a lacking of really good agents that really care about people.
Yep.
And it's a people business.
Sure.
Fundamentally. And a lot of agents are just out there giving to people, over-promising on prices, dropping their pants on their fee, whatever they can to get a listing. And people are locking themselves in for 90 days. Now, if you look at the average time on the market, at the moment at least, it's 30 days.
Yep.
You shouldn't have to be locked into an agreement. You should be able to choose someone that you feel comfortable with, that has a good reputation, that's actually going to have your back the whole way through, People are people and people will make mistakes, but you still want someone that's got your back and not just about getting a transaction done.
For sure.
Yeah.
So that is your point of difference?
I believe so, yeah. It's about creating an experience for everyone involved in the process. I work for the clients, obviously, that are selling their property. I was just saying this before, that on RateMyAgent, it's an independent review platform. Mm-hmm. So we ask all our sellers and buyers to leave us reviews there. And I think they gave me the stat the other day. I'm not very good with the numbers, but top 5% in Australia with close to 100% review ratings from both seller and buyer. And I think that's important. And I say this to my clients. I said, I want you guys to get the best result I can get you. Yep. And that's what I'll work tirelessly to do. But I want it to be a good experience for the buyers as well. And it's not just about providing a service. It's about creating an experience. And that's where I say bring hospitality into real estate.
Sure.
Is what it's about.
Sure.
And that's really important to me because I love food, right?
Yep.
And I get very cranky when I go to a place and I'm paying for food and they're not bringing me a level of experience.
Absolutely. I know what you're talking about there. I'm exactly the same. I'm all about the full experience of going out to eat. It's not just the food. If
you go to America, I don't know if you've been to America, but I went a couple of times now. They get paid on tips. And generally you're paying a good price, but the experience is different.
Oh, totally.
And you go, well, I'm happy to pay for that. Whereas here, maybe not here necessarily, but Sunny Coast, my experience, not always, but generally you're going out and you have to still get up and ask for your own meal and it comes out whenever it comes out.
Yep.
You're paying for that. Like I can cook and eat at home.
Yeah.
So I get a bit grumpy about that. And that's why I think I have the passion to make sure when I'm dealing with a client and selling their property, that I'm giving them a good experience as well. Lack of communication in the industry. Severely lack of communication.
Yep.
People are left uncertain, and I hear it time and time again, like what's happening. People should never feel uncertain when you're paying someone to help you sell their house. Buyers not getting called. Like you wouldn't believe to this day where I get a buyer and they go, oh, thanks so much for calling. It's like, isn't that the most fundamental part of our job?
You would have thought so.
So many agents don't. So yeah, there's a big point of difference, but I think it's just transparency. No, let's work for you and let's get you a good job. And it's about a process. I'm not going to go out there and promise you anything because I can't guarantee what's going to come in. But I can guarantee we're going to run this process and give you an amazing experience. So at the end of it, you're happy, I'm happy, and we've had a long-term relationship from there.
Sure.
Yeah.
What's the average, and let's talk over the last 12 months or so, what's the average sale price of properties you've been selling?
My average sale price is probably around $1 million now.
Yep.
So that's jumped up a few $100,000.
Yep.
Since COVID. I've sold a couple of properties in that sort of $2 million range.
Okay. What's your highest ever?
It's just over that.
Yep.
So 2.1.
Yep.
Yeah, most of the average prices in the Palmwoods area is around that. Well, probably around $1 million now.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. And what is it that you most love about your job?
I think every day is different, and I love it for that reason. So you just don't know what's going to happen every day.
Yep.
Every day I do get to deal with people, and I'm a people person. I love dealing with people and helping people. So I think that's a really good thing about my jobs. Seeing people get results and seeing the happy faces on the buyers and the sellers at the end of a deal is phenomenal for me. And I generally do love dealing with people. And a lot of people say, why don't you answer your phone, like my friends and stuff? So after hours, I'm done because I've been talking all day and I've been using my energy because people take a lot of energy.
Yep.
But I love doing it. It just means sometimes I need that shut-off time too.
Yep. Understand. All right, a career moment you're really, really proud of.
Well, in 2022, this was a tough year for me. I lost my father, found him at the pool myself, and he passed away that day. That was March 22nd, 2022. But I did what I could do to get through and cope, and I just kept working. I found it beneficial for me to keep busy. Mm-hmm. That year I was awarded the #1 international with the XP International.
Wow.
And was it that year? I think it was the following year. I was invited to Las Vegas to get on stage to accept the award and have a little presentation, and that was in front of 5,000 people. So that was a fairly phenomenal experience for me.
Fantastic. Okay. What about a listing that maybe didn't go to plan?
There's been a few of them.
Yeah, there always is.
Look, I don't know. You never know how anything's going to go. Like, you can follow a process through and through, but every case is going to be different. So I can't really give one example of a listing that didn't go to plan. Mm-hmm. They all flow as they will flow. I can give you like the first one. I remember my first sale ever. I was down at Jacob's Well, and it was a place out at Steiglitz, a little community fishing town. And I came across this old couple that lived there, and I went out there, and they were living in this very run-down old place on a block of land, a couple of blocks back from the water. And they wanted me to sell it. And I just remember the process of selling that. That was my first home. Not this modern glitz and glamour sort of house.
Yep.
And I remember that one vividly because it was my first one, but also because it was just this rundown, thing. And found the couple, young couple that had a very low budget. I think it was a $200,000 sale back then. And they bought it. They were happy with whatever was on it, and they were happy to live in it as it was. So I remember that sale vividly. Another sale that I will remember was an architecturally designed home up at Doolong on the Sunshine Coast, and it was an auction campaign, this one, because we thought, okay, very unique property. It was about 5 acres, a very unique home. Mm-hmm. It was run down because it was a deceased estate. But we had bidders on the day, and all the feedback was coming in around $600,000. And the trustee set the reserve higher than the feedback, and we were just like, "Ooh, this is a bit concerning." We managed to get the price sold. It was just over $900,000 something. Like, me and my colleague were standing there going, "Wow, who would have thought?" Because all the feedback was around 600 and 700, but we had a couple of people, probably 3, and then 1 dropped off, and then 2 that just kept going and going and going until it went for. In hindsight, like, it's probably worth 1.8 now, that sort of property.
So they did well, even with that, even getting that result.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Always remember that one.
What percentage of your sales would be auction versus private treaty?
So mostly private treaty.
Yep.
I don't push an auction. I have an auction background. I am an auctioneer. I'm trained.
Yep.
I worked with a company that's renowned for auctions. Mm-hmm. And that was when I was on the Gold Coast, and I was actually, I think, Queensland's #1 auctioneer back then when I was in that company as well. Love the auction process, but I feel that it has to be definitely the right property to run that campaign. I don't really believe it works for most of the properties on the Sunshine Coast.
Yep.
Love the process, but I think there's other processes we can run that are similar that will work just as effectively. And I've seen properties sell at auction, and because a lot of people skip past them or move on, or you don't have that buyer there that's subject to finance, they sell under what they could have otherwise sold for. And I see that often. So it
does happen.
I do believe that high dense populations like Sydney and things like that are trained and understand the auction process, definitely might be a place for it. But look, 1 in 14 sales in Australia are auction properties. The rest are private treaty. So there's a sign there.
I think good point. Probably a very good statistic. I wouldn't have known that, but you sort of get the feel as you go around that a lot more are done under auction conditions than that.
Well, it's an agent thing, to be in the mirror, and it's like a campaign and flashy and, hey, look at me.
Yep.
But majority don't sell. They talk about the clearance rates. Right now they're saying, up above 70%. That's the preliminary clearance rates. They drop down significantly lower than that after that. So it's not all factual, and that's skewed as well by Melbourne and Sydney, where they seem to sell more auctions. So
Sure. All right, time for my famous quick fire round.
Good.
Okay, first
Ready.
thing that comes to mind.
Oof.
One word to describe your negotiation style.
Powerful.
Excellent. How would your clients describe you?
Happy.
Biggest myth about real estate agents?
Jeez. Biggest myth. They're all wankers.
They're not?
They're not.
No, they're not.
Not all of them.
Not all of them. Weirdest thing you've seen at an open home?
Oh. More recently, I had this bloke come up and he was just peeing out the front of the house.
So that was someone who was coming
Not next to a tree or into a bush or anything, just openly.
Really?
Yeah.
in the front yard.
And then we caught him again doing it at another house not too long after that.
Wow.
So, yeah, that was pretty.
That is a weird thing
it's not
to
often
see.
you
No.
get that. There's a lot of weird things you see
Okay.
in this world.
If your real estate career was a movie, what would it be called?
Back to the agent.
Back to the agent. Very good. All right. And your top tip for homeowners when selling?
Top tip for homeowners when selling. I think really do your homework when choosing an agent. It's not that hard. Just do your research and look at reviews. I mean, when I go to a restaurant, I'll look at the reviews, right?
Yep.
And read them and then interview and make sure you're comfortable with the person you're working with, because it's an important relationship that you're going to be in for potentially 2 weeks to 3 months, you know? So really do your homework when choosing an agent.
Good advice. And my final question for you, if somebody is out there listening on the Sunshine Coast or anywhere else and considering using you as their agent, what would you say to them?
I'd say, please give us a call. Let's have a chat, catch up, coffee, see what your plans are, and we'll go from there.
Perfect. Leigh, thanks for joining me on the Elite Real Estate Agents of SEQ podcast.
Been a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Thanks so much for joining us on this episode of Elite Real Estate Agents of SEQ. If today's guest sounded like the right agent to help with your next move, please reach out. You'll find all their details in the show notes and episode description. And if you're a real estate agent interested in being showcased on the podcast, visit www.podproaustralia.com.au to learn more and register your interest. If you enjoyed the podcast, we'd love it if you could like, share, and rate the podcast, and let us know in the comments if there's an agent you've dealt with and you think they should be featured next. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you on the next episode.